Imagine a world where the only truth was the edge of a bronze blade. For thousands of years, if a man took your life or your land, there was no appeal, only the hope that your family was stronger than his. But then, a legend emerged from the dust of Mesopotamia. They spoke of a just shepherd, a king so perfectly attuned to the balance of the universe that he could weigh a man's soul against his actions. They say he didn't just rule with a spear, he ruled with a shadow that stretched across the land, a shadow that could catch a thief in the dark or protect a widow in the light. Welcome to episode 3 of the earliest empires. We have seen Akkad rise and vanish. We have seen Assyria build a system of control and fear. Now, the center shifts south, to a small city on the Euphrates, Babylon, the gate of God. Here, power takes a different form. Not conquest, but law. The story of Babylon does not begin with conquest, but with migration. Around 2000 BCE, as climate shifts weakened older cities, a nomadic people, the Amorites, moved into central Mesopotamia. They did not arrive as conquerors, but as settlers. They chose a strategic bottleneck where the Tigris and Euphrates draw closest together, a fertile but exposed plain, easy to cultivate, difficult to defend. This geography shaped their thinking. Survival would not come from strength alone, but from intelligence, planning, and adaptation. Before Babylon meant anything to history, it was ruled by minor kings struggling to survive. Sumu-abum, the first of the dynasty, began building city walls in 1894 BCE. His successors, Sumu-la-el, Sabium, and Apil-sin, continued this fragile balancing act. They were surrounded by stronger powers, Larsa to the south, Mari to the west, and Assyria to the north. And like those earlier empires, they faced a deeper problem. Power, at this stage of history, was not institutional, it was personal. Empires were not systems, they were men. When a strong ruler lived, everything held together: trade, authority, order. But when he died, the structure weakened. Loyalty was not to the state, but to the individual who controlled it. This was the recurring flaw of the early world. Power could be built quickly, but it could not survive its creator. Babylon would emerge within this reality, not yet as a solution, but as another participant in the same fragile system. Its true foundation came not through war, but infrastructure. The fifth king, Sumu-la-el, understood that survival depended on water. He expanded canals, fortified settlements, and transformed Babylon into a center of agricultural production. He was building the economic base, the battery, that would power the ambitions of his son. By 1792 BCE, when Hammurabi took the throne, Babylon was stable and wealthy, but still a minor player in a world of giants. When Hammurabi inherited the throne in 1792 BCE, he did not rush into conquest. For nearly 3 decades, he remained almost invisible in the records of war. Instead, he focused inward, repairing temples, expanding canals, and observing his rivals with precision. He was not a conqueror in the traditional sense, he was a strategist of timing. He mastered what can be called the false alliance. In 1764, he supported Elam in destroying Esin. Once the balance shifted, he turned, forming new alliances and eliminating Elam itself. He used Assyria to contain Larsa. Then, when Larsa weakened, he absorbed it. This was not brute force. It was calculated sequence. Alliances formed, broken, and repurposed. By 1760 BC, a minor king had become the dominant power of Mesopotamia. This is where the meaning of empire begins to change. A conqueror can seize territory, but cannot be everywhere at once. If power depends on presence, it collapses in absence. Around 1754, Hammurabi introduced a different solution, a permanent extension of authority. The Code of Hammurabi, carved onto a 7-foot black diorite stele. It contained 282 laws, fixed, visible, and enforceable across the realm. It functioned as the empire's nervous system, allowing the king's will to operate without his presence. For the first time, governance was standardized at scale. The code structured society into 3 categories: the Avilu, elite; the Mushkanu, commoners; and slaves. Justice was not equal. It was controlled. If a commoner harmed an elite, The punishment was severe. If an elite harmed a commoner, compensation could suffice. It was not fairness, it was order. The laws governed daily life, wages, agriculture, trade, construction, and medicine. A builder could be punished for structural failure. A surgeon could be held accountable for error. For the first time, economic life itself was regulated by a central authority. Under Hammurabi, Babylon became more than a city. It became a system. Languages, identities, and regions were drawn into a unified structure. This was not expansion of land, but expansion of control through organization. At its height, it represented one of the most advanced systems of governance in the Bronze Age. But the system had a weakness. It still depended on the man who created it. When Hammurabi died in 1750 BCE, the structure remained, but the balance did not. His son, Samsu-iluna, inherited the empire. Almost immediately, pressure began to build. The outer regions, held together by Hammurabi's authority, began to separate. To the south, the Sealand dynasty emerged, cutting Babylon off from the Persian Gulf around 1732 BCE. Trade weakened. At the same time, the very infrastructure that sustained the empire began to turn against it. Over-irrigation led to salinization. The soil grew too salty to produce crops. The agricultural base declined. Population fell. The economic battery that powered the empire began to drain. Without resources, the central government struggled to maintain its army. The system did not collapse instantly. It lost strength piece by piece. The final blow came from outside. In 1595 BCE, the Hittites, under King Mursili I, marched down the Euphrates. They bypassed defenses, entered Babylon, and sacked the city. They did not stay. They did not rule. They took what remained and left. What stood behind was not a fallen empire, but an emptied one. After the Hittite sack, a new power, the Kassites, moved into Babylon and ruled for centuries. But while the empire ended, its system did not. Babylon changed the idea of statehood. Before this, people belonged to cities. After this, they belonged to systems governed by law. For over 1,000 years, rulers sought the title King of Babylon, and the idea of written law, fixed, visible, and central, continued to shape civilizations. Hammurabi proved that authority could be embedded in structure, that a king's words, carved in stone, could outlast his sword. History remembers the conquerors, but it is built by administrators. Egypt built for the afterlife. Assyria built for domination. Babylon built for record and order. Hammurabi's empire showed that control of law could shape the future. But as the Bronze Age reaches its breaking point, no system will be strong enough. Trade will collapse. Empires will fall together. Make sure to subscribe to witness the great reset of human civilization. I'll see you in the ruins. Thanks for watching.